Big news just out about the COVID vaccine and our kids.
Pfizer asking the FDA now to grant emergency use authorization to make children as young as 5 eligible for its COVID vaccine. Here to break down what that means and also to help us prepare for flu season. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar. Dr. Natalie, good to have you back. Before we get into the flu shot stuff, what timeline here? Pfizer asking the FDA 5 to 11. How soon do you think we could see shots in those little arms?
Well, we could theoretically see shots in arms by Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Really? Yes. So I sound surprised by my own answer. So basically, the first thing that happens is that Pfizer releases its data. It did that about a week and a half ago, right? They said, look, kids make an adequate, a comparable immune response to adults. Then they have to formally file for the EUA. That's what they have done. Then on October 26th, the FDA already has a meeting set to review all of the data. Basically, they're reviewing it now, but then their independent advisory committee meeting will hold a public meeting on that day. So mark your calendars, anyone who's interested, October 26th, especially parents out there, to hear how these deliberations actually happen. Then they'll make a recommendation, probably to authorize it to the FDA. The FDA will say yes or no. Well, probably they'll say yes. They usually follow their advisory committee advice. Then it goes to... I'm getting close to 31st now. Then it goes to the CDC, and the CDC signs off and says, do it. It can all happen. It's just like once the ball gets rolling, it happens pretty quickly.
Do they already have the dosage, those dosages ready to go? Physically?
Yeah, a lot of, from the beginning, the pharmaceutical companies have been essentially doing what we call like manufacturing these vaccines at risk, meaning that normally they don't do that, right? They wait until the trial data's in, and then if it's effective, then they manufacture. But this process was happening in parallel during the pandemic, so that once they got good results, they would be ready to deploy.
So when the kids 5 to 11, when they start getting those shots in arms, I mean, the sheer number of children in that age group that we have in this country, would that theoretically get us to herd immunity?
It will help get us to herd immunity, right? I mean, there are, I think, 68 million eligible individuals in the U.S. that still have not been vaccinated. So we still have a ways to go. And we only had less than 50% of eligible 12 to 17-year-olds have been vaccinated. So we need, obviously, as many people in all age groups as possible. And to your question always, yes, we include natural immunity in that calculation. But we do, we do need, I know you like that concept, but we do need to get like 90% immunity, either natural
For me, it's thinking about my kiddos being around their great-grandparents for Thanksgiving or for the holidays. A lot of families around the country, the little ones will be around the elderly relatives. So I think it's a good thing. Let's talk about the flu right now. I think, I had a sinus infection a couple weeks ago, and it was scary. These days, you can't cough. So it's hard to know whether it's the flu, a cold, allergies. It's, COVID, exactly.
So the shortest bottom line on this is that you really can't tell the difference for most people. But here's what I would just keep in mind. Back in the day when COVID first happened, we talked about the fever and the cough and the shortness of breath because we knew that could cause pneumonia. Right now, because so many people are vaccinated, if you get a breakthrough infection, it's mild usually. So you really might just have sniffles or a sore throat or a mild cough. And honestly, you can't necessarily tell the difference a lot between flu, COVID, and strep. I don't know if you've had this yet with your kids. My son has been to the pediatrician now numerous times, getting a throat culture, a flu swab, and a COVID test. And just something to keep in mind, of course, is that if you are symptomatic and you do a rapid test at home, which I encourage anyone to do, and if the rapid is negative, to please follow it up with a PCR. I want to just make a point about the loss of taste and smell. We do talk about that as being super, specific for COVID-19, but it's not an absolute. So just bear that in mind. If you're feeling sick and you're like, I can still taste, I can still smell, I don't have COVID, it's not an absolute, although it is one of the biggest distinguishing characteristics.
In the last hour of the Today Show, everybody got their flu shots. I'd got mine yesterday. You can get your COVID shot and your flu shot same time, no problem. And if you're older, there's a different flu shot than for younger people.
So, unfortunately, we know as we get older, our immune systems just don't function quite as well. That's why we always say older individuals are more likely to get very sick from the flu or from COVID. Well, in the same way, when you get a vaccination, the immune response that's triggered in an older person is not quite as strong. So we want to give it a little extra boost. Shouldn't be using that word necessarily, but you just want to try to trigger the strongest immune response, and we do that with a higher dose of the flu shot.
For 65 and older.
65
Got that flu shot last hour? Don't even feel it.
So far, so good.
And you got to show off your guns.
It's still early for now.
It feels like progress.
Dr.
I
Natalie.
appreciated having you here, though. She was like my blankie over there on the lap. I was nervous.
We get our money's worth out of here. We get our money's
Now
worth.
off to her patients.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.